Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, but of course, you already know that because you are sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for the PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting for April of 2015 to start. And if you're sitting on the edge of your seat, it's because you've been to one before and you know just how exciting they are. And if you've been to one before, well, then you know that I'm a nerd. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about the file definition report in PracticeMaster, and Mary Jo is going to cover that, and I'm going to talk about fatal errors. But before we get into all that boring PracticeMaster stuff, let's talk about this. This is the GoToWebinar control panel. If you're still looking at it, other than the fact that you're looking at it on my screen, if you're still seeing this over on the right of your screen, that's because you haven't pressed this button here that looks like an arrow pointing to the right, because had you pressed that button, this whole control panel would have slipped right off the right-hand side of your screen. And upon doing so, this button would have changed into a button that instead had arrows pointing to the left. Because clicking it again, at least in the state where it's got the arrows pointing to the left, means that this will then come back onto your screen. Why would you want it to come back on your screen? Of course, everyone knows it's because you're shy and you have a question. If you have a question, you may type it here. Keep in mind that you must hit this send button, otherwise we don't know what your question is. But once you hit that send button, it lands right smack dab in the middle of Leanne's screen. Leanne is our Simply Humble moderator, and she will recognize that you have a question. She will interrupt Mary Jo or myself at just the right time. She will read your question on your behalf, and then she will wait. What will she wait for? Well, okay. I babble and ramble. Not necessarily in that order. And so sometimes I get off track and don't actually answer the question you've asked, or I misinterpret. Mary Jo does these things too, but I tend to do them more often. And so if we're getting off track, or if you simply have follow-up questions based on the information that we are providing, remember to continue typing those questions here, or typing those gentle nudges to get us back on track here, remembering, of course, to hit send, and Leanne will keep interrupting us on your behalf and asking those questions or offering those simple nudges to get us back on track. Now, if you're not shy, you can always do this. We're always excited when someone does this. You click this button here, the one that looks like a hand with an arrow in front of it. That means raise your hand. Raise your hand, Leanne will still recognize that you have a question. But this time, instead, she will, after interrupting Mary Jo or me at the right time, she will unmute you. And then you will be able to ask your own question. Now, there are several things to consider here. A, this is a no Fritos, no Doritos zone, and will remain so until you are muted back up. B, you are not going to be muted back up until I or Mary Jo are done answering the question. So you can just jump right in with those simple nudges to keep us on track. You can just jump right in with those questions that came up after we started to answer your question. You will have a full and open channel of communication to whoever is answering your question, and you can just engage them with your follow-up questions. Now, that said, I do want to remind people while I'm pressing the magic buttons here that come July or June, we think it's June, so let's pretend it's June. Come June, version 15.1 and version 15.2 will be sunsetted. If you are still on those versions, or heaven forbid something earlier, then you want to get up to the latest version, which is 17.1. You do not want to stay on 15.1 or 15.2 after it's been sunsetted because A, you will no longer be able to receive support, and neither will we on your behalf if we need it from STI. B, you will not have access at some point to the routines or programs that will bring your data up to the latest version. So even if you stay on it, and even if you don't care that it's off maintenance and it's been sunsetted, eventually you'll have to pay to have your data converted if you do want to get to the latest version, because at some point you won't be able to do it yourself with the programs that ship along with the update CD. And C, you just want to make sure that you're able to get up to the current version. And if you let this opportunity slide and let it slide into being sunsetted, then you won't be able to do that. So keep that in mind. If you're on 15.1 or 15.2, I'll show you later how to determine whether you are. Please make sure you get it updated. And so here is Mary Jo to talk about the file definition report.
So the file definition report, it's not a regular report that we find over in our report writer or on the report writer screen, anywhere there. It's actually underneath the report button up here, and there is a report called File Definition Report. So we're going to just open that up. What the file definition report can do is give you a list of all of the fields that have been created or defined for a certain area. So we have the client area, we've got the calendar, the eNote, the lookup, where it's going to find your contact. All of these places have fields that have been defined either by you or by the program. They came out of the box or you've customized and you've added fields. Sometimes we want to know what all those fields are, what the field names are, what has been defined under this certain area. And all of the areas of practice are also available, and each file within each area of practice is available. So if I needed to see all of the fields that we've created for claimant information under the workers' comp area of practice, I'm on the file definition report, and it's asking me to select a file as to what I want to see. I can say OK. And then it's going to ask me to print it. I'm going to preview it, and it's going to give me a list of all of the different fields and what they have been named, what their type is. Is it an alpha field? Is it a memo field? Is it a Boolean field? That's a true or false field. Is it a date field? What kind of a field did we do this with? And then it's going to give us all kinds of information in here, which some of it may or may not make any sense depending on if you open this up. So some of this is going to tell you whether or not it's a repetitive field, or is history tracking turned on or off. Now this is a great report to find that out. A lot of people ask us about history tracking and how do I know if a field is being tracked? Well, you can go into the client, and I'm in claimant right now, but you can see yes or no. Are this field being tracked for history? Will I be able to go in and see what the history is on this field right here on this column? These all correspond to information that can be set up in file maintenance about the field. Is it protected? Is it required? All of these things are in that screen, and this is just abbreviations for those particular definitions that you can create when you create a field. And it will print out a whole nice little list here. It will tell you how many, I believe at the top, it tells you how many fields are actually defined in this area. So here you go, number of fields. This particular area practice page has 59 fields defined. It tells us how many records are in there, the number of indexes, all of these things that might be helpful for us. I'm going to go back out and do this for the client. So again, reports, file definition report. We'll go to the client, say OK, and we'll preview. And this one, I can see that I have 86 fields defined. And this is important because there is a limitation on how many fields you can have that you can add. So when you're customizing and you're adding fields, you're going to run out at a certain point. I believe it's 430, 35, 32, 36, 430 some fields. If you want to know exactly what that is, the question mark can tell you that on the client field. But that is a limitation. So if you're getting close and you want to know how many you have, this is a good report to start looking at and decide, am I using this field? Does this even have anything that I have to, I need this on the screen, or whatever it is? You can find out all of those fields and what their name is. Also, for document coding purposes, this is a great report because when you start to add fields in document coding, you need to know exactly what the name is and what's coming in. So this gives you that whole list of all the fields that are available in that instance. So helpful, Paul, additions?
Well, one thing that I would point out is that you can find out these things by going into file maintenance, but to go into file maintenance, you have to get everybody out of the system.
True. That is
so
true.
If you want to find out answers to these questions related to fields, like whether or not history is turned on for this field or that field, and you don't want to kick everybody out of the system, that's really one of those times when this report is extremely helpful.
Very, very good.
And nerdy, yes. If you're not interested in fields and you're not coding documents or designing forms, or you're not the one who's responsible for deciding what fields get stored in the file, then this report's not for you. This is not a report that gives you any legal practice management information. It's more a report that gives you information on how to set up or how you have set up your system. So stay out of here if you don't care, but if you do, a very, very useful report, especially because you can get this information without kicking people out.
Yeah, good point, Paul. And then also that you brought up the form designer. If you're using form designer, sometimes it's helpful to know what these fields are named so you can make sure you have the right field on the right screen, or is it even available? Do I have that field that I can put on a screen in this area? Oh, wait, I created it not under contact, it's under client. You know, whatever that would be, this is a good report to show you where they are.
Exactly.
And where you can use them.
Why can't I find this with this name? You know, because it's not, like Mary Jo said, it's not under contract, it's under client. This report's going to show you that.
Yep.
Exciting? No, sorry. A little too nerdy to be exciting, but I'll talk about something exciting. Fatal errors. Everyone loves fatal errors. Everyone really enjoys getting them. They really lower the stress level in a firm, and there's nothing more pleasant than to start out your morning with a fatal error. Really, I don't have anything to show you. I will show you something in a minute, but I want to talk about them. Fatal errors basically mean that the program has encountered something that it doesn't know how to deal with. It could be something that's related to a problem with your data. It could be something that's corrected by simply reindexing or running a data file integrity check. But 9 times out of 10, they really tend to point to problems with your network connectivity. So a fatal error gives us clues that allow us to determine what we think your connectivity issues are, who's getting the problems, where is the connectivity problem, or as I say, sometimes they do actually have to do with a problem in your data. But the thing is, you don't really have to worry about them. Yeah, you have to worry about them. You should tell someone you've got a fatal error. Usually you should tell somebody right away that you got a fatal error. But even then, if you're able to continue doing what you were doing, it's not something that you need to have a high level of anxiety over. One thing that people tend to want to do, a fatal error is something that comes up right in the middle of your screen, and when you acknowledge it, when you say, okay, the whole thing goes away, and so does the program, because the program has stopped working because of this fatal error. And so what people tend to get very anxious over is capturing that information. And I've had people who email me handwritten notes where they've written down everything that it says on that screen, and those screens are long. I've had people take screenshots and then realize that the fatal error scrolls, and so they scroll to the next part and take a screenshot and scroll to the next part and take a screenshot. You don't need to do that. These fatal errors are actually being logged in the software, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to get there, but you don't even need to go there and look at it there. The point is we can get to it. So when you get a fatal error and you call us or you call STI, we have means to go see exactly who got the error, when, what the error was, all that information. I mean, some of the stuff I don't even know what it means. Mary Jo is our fatal error expert. She's who I always send them to. And even she doesn't know exactly what everything means, but 9 times out of 10, she knows that when you get an error that ends in 03, you do this, and when you get an error that ends in 20, you do that. I don't know all that, but the point is, that information's been captured, and so you don't need to write it down. You need to get back to work. You need to tell somebody you got the error, and then let us or STI or somebody figure out what's going on. So here's where we go, just in case you're curious. I'm going to View, Log Files, Error Log. And by doing this, we open up it's actually a Windows Explorer, Internet Explorer window. It's an HTML file or an XML file. Sorry, I'm talking nerdy. It's a file that you look at through Internet Explorer, and it's got all that stuff that you would have written down or that you would have taken a screenshot of. What's a traceback path? I have no idea, but the people at STI may ask for this. So having it is a good thing to have. This is the error number. This is who got the error, what time, what date, what system. That's the name of the computer. I'm sorry, that's the name of the computer, and that's what program, tabs, PracticeMaster, that sort of thing. If you're running Platinum, what's the server name? All this information is valuable, but again, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about the fact that you can view this information when you get the error. You just need to know that if you tell somebody, they're going to be able to come in here and look at it. And that's all I really have to say about fatal errors. Don't ignore them. Don't freak out. The world is not ending. There are plenty of other things to worry about other than fatal errors, but don't worry about them either. Do not forget to tell somebody. You know, if you're the administrator, you should call us or you should call STI. If you're a legal assistant or a lawyer, you should probably tell your administrator and they'll know what to do with it. So that's it. Fatal errors and the most exciting report in PracticeMaster, the file definition report, all in one exciting PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting. Next month we are talking about configuring the printer. A lot of people don't understand how to set the printer settings so that they stick. And how to set up printers and have different printers available to you with different settings. We'll talk about that. Mary Jo will actually. I will talk about Outlook Sync. I'm going to kind of take you through what we can do to synchronize your contacts and your calendars with Outlook, and what that really means is with your phone, because your phone's already set to sync to Outlook. PracticeMaster can be set to sync to Outlook. Outlook can then be the conduit between PracticeMaster and your phone. Don't forget, version 15.1, getting sunsetted in June, 15.2, getting sunsetted in June. If you don't know what version you have, click on Help, and then About, and right up here at the top, you will see what version of the software you have. So if you don't know if you have 15.1 or 15.2, just come in here and look. If you have something that's even older, by all means, it's time to look at getting it updated. If you have 15.1 or 15.2, it's definitely time because you're currently getting support and you will stop getting support in June. Our website is www.attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice how I emphasize the F. Very important. You won't get there without it. And when you go to our website, there's this videos drop down in the menu at the top. And you will find all the videos that we record, the virtual user group meetings for tabs, PracticeMaster, and World Docs. You'll find my monthly webinar series called the Coffee Pot Webinars. You'll find Mary Jo's little snippets that we call the e-bites, very short but sweet, neat bits of information on things that you may not know. And then the soon-to-be syndicated Paul and Mary Jo show, just another way that we've taken and expanded upon different topics in more of a TV show format. All these videos are here. So if you, for instance, click on the PracticeMaster Virtual User Group Meeting or World Docs, let's go back here because I want to show you that if you click on PracticeMaster, the first thing that you're going to see at the top is next month's meeting. So we now have switched it to May. As you scroll down, you will find listings for each of the prior months. Here's the one we're looking at right now. It does not have a video because it hasn't been produced. It says it's currently in post-production. That's not even true because that won't start until 10 seconds after we end the call. And then if you scroll down further, you'll see in reverse order the virtual user group meetings for previous months with their videos. So always a good place to go to kind of scan around and look what's available and kind of scope it out. A good place to go to register for the upcoming events. And you can also, of course, use our search box to search for something like emailing statements or whatever it is that you may be looking for and get right to that particular video. So there it is. Everybody have a good rest of the afternoon, a good rest of the month, even though there's only a couple days left. We'll see you in May, and bye for now.